Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
The podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
Today, we are reading Parker, The Score. It's a crime book.
I like the way you said that because you probably was like, Parker, The Score.
Yeah.
I don't know, just your delivery of it was good. I'm jumping in right away because Matt will talk about this all day and all night, but he turned me on.
I turned John on.
He
You hear
turns
that?
me on. All night long.
Hey, let's not.
No, but this series, I didn't realize that. Like, I guess I like crime noir stuff, but
Right.
man,
This is a different flavor, though,
It just
because
is.
it's from the
It's-
point of view of the bad guy, technically like a thief. I like it for that reason. There's a lot of noir books I read that are, or crime books that are, they're always from there's a guy who's either like, maybe he's on the edge of like good and bad, but he's always generally on the side of good, and he's like a PI or an ex-cop or something. This is one of the few ones that it's actually like, oh no, he's a criminal, and he will kill people if they get in the way, but he's got a code. He's got certain, stipulations for killing people and stuff. So I appreciate that. I think it's a really good series. Fantastic book series if you haven't read them. There's like 20 plus, 24, I think, books. I have them all. I read them all. I say this every time. But, like, they're fantastic. I read them, like, all once a year. It's so good. And it pretty much, they only get better as you go. There's maybe, like, one or two that I'm like, that one's not my favorite. But out of 24 books, that's pretty damn good. So, and then, these specifically are extra special because they are drawn and written, or the script is written, by Darwin Cook, who passed a couple years ago, but he is one of my favorite creators of comics. Fantastic artist. And, we've done a lot of his work here. We did New Frontier from DC and
Batman Ego.
Oh, yeah.
That is an episode you should go back and listen to. That is a Batman comic that is not as well, like, it's not as, like, for some reason beloved as, like, Year One. Or,
I mean, it came out. It's like a one-shot that came out in like the early 2000s.
and it is just so good. It is like one of my favorite Batman comics.
Yeah, it's great. And, it's out of print and everything, so that's fun. But, like...
So good, like, finding it.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably find... I found the issue itself for, like, pretty cheap. Like, I think it was, like, $15. But that was a while ago, so I don't know what it is now.
Yeah.
But, with speculators and stuff now, it's really... Everything's going up. You can't get, like, a Swamp Thing issue that's like fucking 30 years old for less than like $10 now.
Do you know how much paper costs?
Old paper? Old paper doesn't cost anything. So this series I love. I'm glad we're doing the third one, even though I know they're not our most popular books as far as episodes.
I was going to say, if you guys are not into crime, I don't know. You should give these a try. Go back and, like, if you're like, oh, what's this? Go back and listen to your episodes because, like, they're cool. I don't know. Yeah. I didn't think I was gonna like him as much either. And these.
Well, you didn't like him in the first trade. I remember that.
Oh,
you were like, I don't know if I like this Parker guy because he's kind of he's not a goody good. He's a gray character.
Okay. Well, I get as I'm getting older then.
Well, it's also because in that one he's like a real bastard because it's him coming back from the dead, pretty much. Like you killed me, you fucking wife of mine, and then like. So the good thing about these is they're kind of standalone trades. Like you could just listen to this episode or read this book. You don't have to know everything that happened before to read this. You're introduced to the main character and that's all you need to know.
Yep.
Parker is a thief. Go. So that's the nice thing. And even the books are like that. They're dime store novels basically. So like you pick one up, you read it, you got it. I mean, the first two, the Hunter and the Outfit, are more connected than any of the other ones for the most part. Basically, the only connective tissue in all the other ones are like these characters. So, like in this book, he teams up with a bunch of other thieves, and they show up in other novels as well.
Nice.
The ones who don't die and stuff. So
spoilers.
Yeah, or they'll do like, oh, this was before that novel. Like they'll do a story that's like, so, oh yeah, before that thing happened to Salsa, this this caper went down or whatever. Nice. So that's always fun. But this is one of my favorite novels. This is out of the whole Parker book series. This one stands out, and I love the setup for this. Basically they're going to knock over an entire town.
Yeah, it's like an Ocean's 11 entire town.
But it's like Ocean's 11, but instead of a casino, it's an entire town, which you're like, how does that make sense? Yeah. But this town is like in the middle of nowhere. It's surrounded on all sides by mountains, and the guy who sets it up, he used to live there, so he knows where everything is, all the money's kept, all that stuff. So it's just a really interesting story, and there is a large cast. I'd say that's the only downside, but not all of them make it out, and only a couple of them are like pivotal to the story. So we will try not to confuse you by saying all their names a bunch or whatever, but we can kind of maybe describe some of the ones that are more colorful. And they do that in the story. They're like, oh, this guy, he's a hothead or whatever, so like, oh, I'm supposed to pay attention to him because they gave a little bit more description on him. So so I think this came out in 2013 or something like that.
2012.
Oh, 2012. Okay. Yeah, and this, I think he died in, was it 2017 or something? So there's only one more after this that's like a full story. And that one's called, let me look at my bookshelf, Slayground. There you go.
Slayground.
Which is also one of my favorites of the books. So,
nice.
And yeah, these are all spread apart, but like I said, like you don't need to read the books in any specific order. I mean, it might be good to read the first book before you read the other ones, but after that, you don't really need to read any of them in any specific order. And after Slayground, he did like half a book called The Seventh, which was the seventh book in the in the series, and he only did part of that before he died. And I think I got the absolute of the second absolute of these novels or these comics, and they have this book and Slayground in it, and the seventh, completed by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
Oh wow!
Who did the Reckless series? So and Brubaker is like one of my favorite crime writers now. If you haven't listened to our Reckless episode, that's a good crime series as well.
Yeah, Reckless is cool.
Yeah, we should do more of those too because those are fantastic as well. So they only get better. The first one was good, and every one after that has gotten better. So,
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, we kind of said like the plot of this book, which is, these guys are going to rob a city, but it starts off, and I like how this starts off. It starts off in Jersey City in 1964, and we see like these like matchbox boxes arranged in a certain way, and they all have little labels on them. One says like bank, city hall, firehouse, the police station, and you're like, what is this? And then you have like little cars and models of people like like walking and stuff. So basically this is the setup for like it's the plan that some guy has to make this thing go down.
Yeah,
right?
so they made a model of the town. With like household items.
So they can plan it really, really good.
Yeah.
And it starts off, and this is like a good way to start it off to introduce you to Parker. He comes down from his hotel room, and he's walking to this meeting, and he starts being followed by this guy, just random guy. And he's like, what the fuck? So I love the way he draws this. The guy, thinks he's being clever and is like slowly behind him, like, a couple yards back, or I don't know. It's like, how far would you say? Like 35 feet or something like that?
Something like that. Like definitely like if he sees him around a corner, it's probably like almost a whole street away.
Right. But he's the only other guy walking. So like, I'm sure he's not that inconspicuous. So Parker, who's, he's not normally in New Jersey City or New Jersey City. Sorry. Jersey City. And so he's got a map and stuff. He's walking around and he's looking at the map to get to the place. And he's clever enough. He notices this guy. He like hides for a second as he rounds a corner. And then the guy that's following him turns and he's like, what the heck? Where'd he go? And then he like runs like, where'd he go? And he's trying to catch up to him. And then all of a sudden Parker is walking the opposite direction towards him now. And he just has to like play it cool. And there's this great little piece of art where Parker's face is in shadow. And then as the guy that's following him walks past Parker, because now they're facing each other and they have to play like they don't know the other is following the other one. Parker's little there's like a white speck that appears, and you can see it's like his eye looking back at the guy, but like without turning his head. I'm like, oh, that's a great little art tick. Like it's the same panel of him walking with the shadow on his face, but now there's like a little white part that's his eyeball, and it just speaks like, oh, he knows.
Oh yeah,
he knows. And so the guy is like, whew, man, that was close. I almost got caught. And then Parker like rounds a corner, and the guy follows him around that corner, and this time Parker actually grabs him. He's waiting for him, and he throws him down, and the guy pulls a knife on Parker. And so Parker, he doesn't know who this fucking guy is.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, so Parker just fucking like jabs him right in the fucking neck, just like just like crushes his esophagus is basically what happens, and the guy suffocates and dies like instantly.
Yeah, I like the way he puts it too, because he's coming at me with a knife, and like I don't have a weapon on me, but I got these big mitts.
I got these mitts,
and they're like, yeah, he's like, then they're huge.
Yes,
like, okay, yeah.
And the way they draw it too, like Jarwin like makes his hands bigger than they should be in that panel, which is great because you're gonna focus on him, So yeah, he looks through the guy's clothes and he's like, okay, here's a wallet, here's all this stuff. No reason. There's like nothing on him that says like, oh, he's following me for some nefarious reason. But like, why did he pull a knife? Why was he following me? So we find out that Parker gets to the place he's supposed to be going to go to this meetup, and there's a dude named Paulus that is setting this meetup up. And Parker's like, oh yeah, there was a dude following me. And Paulus is like, oh yeah, sorry about that. Edgar's the guy that's actually setting this up. He didn't know who you were, and he wanted someone to tell you. And Parker's like, well, that guy's dead now. So hopefully it wasn't like your brother or your cousin or anybody you cared about, because he fucking dead. That's all I know. So, and Paulus is kind of important in the story later on, but he's like the main guy that was approached by the guy who's setting it up. So Edgar's is the guy who's actually got the plan, but he's not a professional thief. So he came to a professional thief named Paulus, who has other buddies in the field, and one of those buddies is Parker. So we'll try to make this as little as complicated as possible. Yeah. But
Paulus seems a little Weasley. He kind of gives off like a little Weasley.
Yeah, he's definitely like a, I don't know, like a sheepish fellow. I'll say, like, he doesn't have the rock exterior of Parker for sure. And so Parker like hears like, oh, this guy named Edgar's is actually the guy setting this up, but he's not a thief. He's never done it before. And Parker's like, well, I'm fucking out.
An amateur.
Yeah, amateur. I don't deal with amateurs. But Paulus is able to talk him into coming back just to hear him out, just to hear what it is. So Paulus and Edgar's go into the room, talk to Parker, and there's already a couple people there. There's a guy named Grofield who appears in many Parker novel. He's like one of Parker's buddies. He's even got his own set of novels by Richard Stark called the Alan Grofield novels.
Oh, nice.
And they are just other. He's not as good of a thief as Parker. Like, he'll get fucked up or he'll get like thrown into weird fucked up situations that Parker would never get himself into, because we find out later that Grofield, he's a bit of a womanizer. He's a bit of a like shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
If something changes, I'll go with it, or I'll change my mind and just change plans automatically. And Parker would never do that unless he absolutely had to, unless some crazy thing happened, which of course does in this. But so he meets Grofield and another guy named Wiska or Wiska.
I think Wiska.
It's a Czech name, I think, or a Polish name or something, because there's a lot of Z's and C's, and there's a lot of consonants in a row on this name. So I think it's Wiza though, and so Wiza's like an old wrestler who also is in the book series quite a bit. So he's just kind of a bruiser that is good at cracking safes. And that's another thing. Like, there's two people who can crack safes in this story, and one of them is like, I like use my drills, and that's the only pure way to be like a bank thief, like a safe thief. Like, this is the only way to do it. Not those idiots that use like nitroglycerin or whatever. And then you cut to the other guy, and he's like, nitroglycerin is the only way to go. Yeah. So I just think that's funny they do that. But so Parker sees his buddies here. He's like, okay, you got three other guys. We got Paulus, Wiska, and Grofield. And then Edgar's goes, well, I think we're going to need about 20 to 30 people to do this. And Parker's like, no, I'm out again. I'm out. 30 people. If
30
you need
people.
30 people, then it's not a job,
Yeah.
right? This is like a movie. If you need, it is Ocean's 11.
Yeah.
If you need 30 people. So, but he still stays. There's still like a thing. He just wants to hear what the plan is, even though he thinks there's no way it can work. So, basically the plan is, like we said, this guy, Eggers, he tells them like, oh, the reason why I'm doing this is because there's money here and I want to get a bunch of money and I cased it already because I used to live there. And also I just don't like these people. I got a little personal grudge against them, but just a little side thing. No worries.
And everything, everything against Parker's better judgment is like he's like listening to as he's talking, and everything he's saying, he's like, okay, so he's got a personal vendetta here. That's a tick for nope, I should not do this. It's in this small town. It's called Copper Canyon in North Dakota, and it is a town that is like basically
literally in a box.
Yeah, literally in a box. It's only one way in and one way out,
which is a big no.
It's a big no.
Yeah.
The three of the side, it's deep, like within a like a mountain, basically.
Yes, and there's only one road in or out, and on that road is a ranger station, like for police.
Yeah, there's a ranger station and then the police department. So there's two types of cops here.
Yes.
So like just everything is like nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Nope. But then Edgar says the magic thing, which is how much money he's expecting to get from this, because he knows everything that's going to happen and how much people keep in their safes in these like jewelry stores, banks, all that kind of stuff in the town. And he's saying $500,000. And this is in 1964. So you might as well be saying like, oh, $10 million or something. Like it's a lot of money. Because at the end they all get like $30,000, and I was like, that's not that much. I was like, wait, this is 1964. That's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
You could live for a while on $30,000 back then. You could buy a house for $10,000 back then.
Yeah.
So, a car for $3. So, or even less than that, depending on, is it an Oldsmobile? Or is it, but yeah, so Parker hears this out, and he's like the best planner there is. That's why they want Parker there. Parker can look at a plan and either decide whether it sucks or not, and then he can make improvements on it. Like, we don't need to hire 30 guys. We need about 12. And they come to that number by like, okay, this is how it's got to be, because you have to take out the buildings in this town one by one in a certain way. And by the buildings, I mean like the police station first, because they're obviously the first responders. Then you got to take out the phones, which, because people are going to call if they hear any noise or anything. So you got to have like everybody break in, go there to the police station, take out the guards and the other police people or the officers, and then tie them up and leave one person there so they can man the phones to be like, oh yeah, we'll be there in a minute, but like just never respond to it. And then same with the phone company. They go in there all together, but now there's 11 guys because you left one at the police station. Same thing, tie them up, leave one guy there, move on. And do that on all the buildings that matter. So I think it's the phone company, the police station, the fire department, any like public services, basically.
Yeah, and there is also a mine in this.
Yeah, obviously it's called Copper Canyon because there's a mine there. So at the mine.
No, I was just saying. Well, that's the biggest part of the score is because there's like the payroll.
Yes, so
safe there.
This job has to be done on a Thursday because that's when payroll goes in, and then everybody gets paid on Friday. So you imagine like the Brinks trucks bring in all the money, put them in the banks or whatnot, and then everybody gets paid on Friday.
Yeah.
Well, they ain't getting paid this Friday because they're going to take them out. So you got the guard at the gate of the mine has to be taken out, replaced, and then there's got to be like a couple lookouts, and then there's the last 4 or 5 people, they get to break into all the safes in the town, like in the banks and the jewelry store and all that. So that's why you need 12 people exactly, and no more. Like 12 is like a very large cast of people anyway. Parker doesn't like to work with lots of people. Yeah. Generally, I'd say in his books, max 6 you're getting. And maybe every now and then there's like a woman that tags along that must come. So in more ways than one.
Wow.
I would say Parker is one of the like different kind of dime store crime novels. There's not too much sex or like lewd stuff in them. It's mostly just business because Parker has a code. And that code is when it's time to work, you work. When it's time to play, you fuck. All right. So, wow. So yeah, he's like, whenever there's always like a chance for like a woman to sleep with him or like that's coming onto him at the beginning of the book, and he's always like, I can't, I'm working a job, babe, but afterwards I'll come find you. Like, what was your name again? Name a number, where are you staying? Because after this I'm gonna need a lady. So but yeah, that's like, and then they never get too graphic because these books were from the 60s. I don't know how graphic books were back then, because I've read some more recent books that take place in the 60s and 70s, so they kind of have the same feel, but they are written nowadays, and there's a lot more sex in them than like I was listening to an audiobook of one of them, and my wife was in the car, and of course, just like your parents or whatever you're listening to or watching that's rated R, the worst section comes on when you're with someone else that might be shocked. So I'm in the car. I'm like, oh, I want to listen to this audiobook. It's almost done. And of course, the guy in it, he's a PI, and he likes his ladies, and the ladies like him, if you know what I mean. So he gets down and dirty with one of them, and Mel, my wife, was like, what is going? What are you listening to?
What is this? You're listening to?
You're listening to like pornography on an audio book or whatever. So I just thought that was funny, but yeah, that's how it always is. My parents would always come in when and I'm watching a movie with my friend, and like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. In that movie, like there's no swearing, no sex, no anything until one part.
Yeah, there's like one scene that all of the curse words are saved for.
Yeah, in 20 seconds, he says the F word 15 times, and that's why it's rated R. Other than that, no other reason why it should be rated R. And that's when my mom would walk in and be like, what are you watching? What is this expletive, saying person, like what's going on? So yeah, of course that's how it is. But yeah, so anyway, Parker is not like that. These books don't have barely any sex in them or anything. Grofield, he's a little bit more of some of his novels are a little bit more risque, but not nearly like that. Not detailed, especially. So I will say this book does have nudity in it, because Grofield gets some in this book, and the ladies are naked, or the lady's naked.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on. I'm not saying who it is.
I know.
So anyway, they start the plan, and like I said, Parker's like, I don't like it, but he goes along with it because he actually comes up with a better plan. He like thinks it over, mulls it over for a couple days. And he's like, I'll get back to you whether I want to do it or not. And as he thinks about it, he's like, it can be done. And if it can be done, that's like the thrill for him. It's like, if it can be done, I got to try it. Like it seems solid enough, even though it's a wacky plan like that this guy came up with. And then also he has bad feelings about Edgar's he had a personal thing. So like why, like what is that exactly? Like why would he?
Yeah, but he swears it's not going to get in the way, obviously.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. No, I'm sure it won't. And he doesn't meet, or he doesn't like decide this by himself. He talks to Wiska and Grofield, because they're like two guys he's worked with before. So he's like, you guys think this sounds good? We'll count down like the plan, and everybody agrees. Yeah, it sounds good. So they get a bunch more guys. And what do you think about this, John? How they introduced everybody? I
liked it because it has them on the page, and it feels very much, it's, the setup. So each character, you could tell kind of a little bit about their personality, because they all have 100 questions, but they all have like a specific question, so you see where their mind's going with it. So yeah, you like I said, there's a bunch of characters. We don't have to necessarily go through them all, but
yeah.
They're like, like one's like, what's the split? What's the take? And the other one's like, well, how long is this gonna take? How long are we gonna have to wait at the end? Because they have to hide out. They're not actually like, when they on their way out, they're gonna hide in an old abandoned mine.
Right. Yeah, that's like the main part of this is, okay, we can't just drive on the one road out, after like everybody's aware that there's robbers and shit that have robbed the city. So like we have to hide out until it dies down, because the police will have roadblocks and stuff for state lines, so you can't just take one street or one road out of the state, because you will get checked for sure. So usually in almost all the books, there's always like a hideout that they have to wait at for at least a week to let everything cool down, let the roadblocks go, because the police eventually go like, oh, I guess they got out somehow. And then, so that's kind of how it was working, how they're doing this one as well. And Edgar's is the one who points out that, hey, there's a mine. Like, we'll still have to go by one of the police stations, but as long as we're cool about it, we should be able to get to this mine. It's on like an abandoned dirt road that no one's going to take, so we're pretty safe there. And it's got 2 sheds. We can all sleep in there for like a couple days or a week or whatever, and we'll be good to go. So that seems to be the plan. Everybody agrees on that. I will say, out of everybody, the only one that there's a couple that matter more than others. There's Chambers, who's kind of like, he's the guy that's a hothead, they call him. Like he makes rash decisions and will do things that Parker does not like, because Parker does not like to make rash decisions in the middle of a job.
So that's one of the big ones. You definitely have. Obviously, something's going to happen with him.
Right. And then, one thing I wanted to point out, all of these people, I don't know if you knew this, John, they're all their caricatures, all their faces are based on actual comic book artists.
Oh, nice.
So, like, Darwin was like, I'm going to make this guy, Jay Lee or whatever, like I'll do the face for them. So, everybody has a counterpart that's like in the comic book world. So if you know what they look like, and I didn't notice all of these people, the only one I was like, hey, that looks like Jim Steranko. There's an older man named Pop Phillips who's in it, and he's like a pretty cool guy. And I was like, that is exactly what Jim Steranko looks like.
Yeah.
There's no way that's not him. And then later on at the back of the book, it says who everybody was that he drew for those characters. So I thought that was cool.
Nice.
I was like, oh, that's fun. You get to like draw. And I was like, I guess he's going to have to stay on model for those guys. But I think all the ones that he points out, except for maybe Salsa, who's like the cool Hispanic guy, he's the only one I remember showing up in other books. So
nice.
Out of these like other guys that they had, out of the new guys. So and everybody's in on the job. They all like it. They all trust Parker. And one thing that was awesome is Parker is like, I'll get the guns, you get the cars, because they decide like instead of having 6 cars, because that looks kind of conspicuous, driving at the same time at night, late at night, because they're going there like after midnight, of course. We could just rent one big truck and all go in like a moving truck, and then that way it's much less conspicuous. And then, like I said, Parker's like, I'll get the guns. So he goes to this guy that he always gets guns from named Scoff or Scofie. I don't know.
I forgot how you pronounce it.
Either way. And the old guy's like
he's old and blind.
Yes, he's old and blind, and Parker's like, I need like machine guns, and he's like, I don't know about machine guns. They're pretty hard to come across. But he's holding out on Parker, and Parker knows it. So Parker's like, God damn it. And this is like a common thing. We always in the books you hear his thoughts where he's just like, this fucking guy, just give me what I want. And he's like, but I got to play the game. These people like to fucking talk so much. And so like, oh, you don't have any? And he's like, yeah, I don't have any. He's like, well, are you sure? Because I can just go to one of your competitors. He's like, oh, no, I think I have something. I got something. So he tells Parker he's got 2 machine guns, and they're hidden away. He's got like, this guy Scoff has like a model, like what is it? Like a model plane store?
Model train plane store?
A hobby store. I guess that's what it would be called. And so in these boxes of like race cars, he just has like guns.
Yeah, because he mentions to like grab a certain one, like in that stack, like 5 down or whatever.
He's like, grab the Ferrari 2 boxes down.
Yeah,
and that's got a gun in it.
Yeah,
and
so he's got obviously some real ones. So if cops go to open or somebody opens the top box, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna get that for my kid.
But a couple boxes down, you got machine guns. Yeah. So he says he's got 2 machine guns, but then Parker, when he's getting those 2, he looks on the one underneath the second one that he picks up, and it's got a machine gun too. So he's like, this fucking guy's lying to me. So the best part is he says, I'll just take the machine guns. I don't need the rifle or the handguns. He's like, what? Why not? And he's like, because you have 3 here. I'll just take the 3 machine guns. He's like, oh, I was just joking, Parker. He's like, no, I'll just go to the other guy that I said I was going to use. So the guy gets super mad at him after he's like, no, Parker, we're great. We're friends, right? And then he's like, I'm going to go to Amel or whatever and go to him. And he's like, you son of a bitch. He gets all freaking mad and everything. So I just thought that was like a funny section in the book. Yeah. Just the way that Parker is, like, he doesn't like any of these people. He just wants to do the job as efficiently as possible, pull it off. It's like a feather in his cap, and then get the money. That's all he gives a shit about. And then he goes on vacation for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but all these other people got to be extra and have their side conversations or side motives and screw things up.
Yes. So then we meet the next complication, because after Parker comes back from his getting guns, he finds out there's a woman sitting in this room that wasn't there before. So he's like, who the fuck is this? And this is a woman named Jane. Jane. Is it Jane?
No, it's Jean. You're right.
Jane.
I'm sorry. It is Jean.
I can read, John.
I can't read. I switched up the letters.
Okay. Anyway, Jean is Edgar's girlfriend. And Jean looks like a classic, like, 60s model, basically. And Edgar's does not. Edgar's like a fat older guy. So, like, I'm like, why is she with him? But and even like Parker's like, why is she with this guy? But it's obvious she's just kind of like, he's got money, he's got kind of pull or whatever, and she's just in for the ride just for a while, and then we'll go with someone else. So Parker sees her and he's like, who the fuck is this? Why is she here? Now she knows the job, and they're like, don't worry, Edgar said she's cool and she's coming with us on the job. He's like, no, she's not. Why would we want a woman, no offense, on the job? Because, and this also, these are written in the 60s, and this is like, women are distracting, which she's not wrong in this context. Well, we find out later. And, she might get in the way, and she knows all her faces and names, so she's just a liability.
Yeah, and she doesn't have like a role either. She would just be
there in the car, like hanging out.
I'll wait in the car while you guys go in. I'm going to wait in the car while you guys go in the store and grab your stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all. But eventually they convince him because they just say she's not going to be in the town with us the night we do it. She's going to be in a hotel a couple miles away in like another town or whatever. And then she'll be waiting there the whole time. Don't worry about it. So it's kind of ominous. I mean, like Parker definitely doesn't want that, like her to be around. And also like I said, she knows their faces and names. So it's like she could, if arrested, she could definitely talk on them and stuff. So he doesn't like it, but he goes with it. And then this was funny. Like Edgar's like, why don't you take her to the room, like where we're staying, and get all her stuff, and then you could take her to the hotel and drop her off.
Yeah, so like everything's fine.
Yes. And of course, when he goes there, she's like, oh, I need to take a shower. I'm all hot and sticky. I need to take a shower. And he's like, all right. And then she does. And then she comes out in like a bathrobe, and then she's like, so we gonna do this or what? And he's just basically like, I'm on a job. Like,
he's like, hurry up. Let's get your stuff.
I don't got time for this.
Get your shit and get in the car.
But he definitely makes a note in his mind. Like, I think he even tells her, like, afterwards, though, we'll talk. Like, so, and of course, now he knows where she's staying for afterwards. So she's, kind of like, fine. And gets like angry, but also just, pouty or whatever, and goes with it because, she can't do anything else. So that takes care of her. And then, this all takes place, I should say, in the span of like a week and a half, too. Like from like Parker going to Jersey City to talk to Paulus.
Paulus, yeah.
And then there's also another guy named Palm. So I was like, oh, this is going to be confusing. But luckily, Palm doesn't matter. So Parker got the guns. Now they're going to the what's it called? The mine.
Yeah, they're gonna check out the hideout.
They check out the hideout, and specifically, like Parker needs to see like how long it takes to get there on the dirt road, like how fast they can travel without, fucking up their car because it's a dirt road that's been abandoned for a long time. There's rocks and trees and shit in the way. So he's like, okay, 35 tops. Like he's got everything planned out, even up to the mud in like the dirt road. So they get to the mine, and we see there's two shacks. And, they introduce everybody. Everybody's there, and they're all, like, playing. They're drinking beer, hanging out. They got all the snacks they could want. I don't. This is, like, before Nintendo, but if there was, like, Nintendo there, they would totally be playing that.
They got hardtack and pork rinds. And
hardtack? They got MREs or whatever the fuck you ate in the...
What did you eat?
They got
sardines.
Cheese. Yeah, sardines
and saltines.
There you go. So yeah, they got all the fixins for staying there for a long time, and everybody's kind of happy about this. We also see there's like, because they got this big truck, right, and they can't leave it out in the open in case people do, like the police do aerial surveys to see if they went anywhere in nearby. So they have to hide it down at the bottom of the mine where there's like an overhang. And that road into the bottom of the mine is very, very small.
Steep, small, and like it's definitely only like a one-way or one-car road along the side of the cliff.
And it's made of mud, and it's been deteriorating for years. And they have to drive a semi-truck, basically, or like a large, like one of those, like the medium-sized moving vans is what I think.
Yeah. I would see.
Actually, you know what? It is a semi-truck.
No, yeah, I would say it's like almost like
it's on a trailer. It's actually like on
almost
a trailer.
like a 16-wheeler.
Yeah. So they have to move this thing down there, and good God, that would be terrifying.
Yeah, and especially like he says on the dry run that they do, he's like, plus like it's an empty trailer, so it's like extra light and like kind of rocking and easier to like. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna fall off the cliff here.
Right. Yes. So but when it's full of diamonds and money and whatever else they steal, it should be a little bit easier. So they're able to maneuver it down there, okay, and they hide it. So that's where they're keeping everything for now. And then we cut to Thursday night, the night they're going to do the job. So everybody's ready. We got a bunch of guys that are going to be in the back of the truck during the initial, I think 5 guys go to take over the police station, the phone house, all the other stations they need to take over. And then there's 5 guys waiting in the truck, just having to wait in the truck. Also, one of the guys smokes in the truck. I'm like, what the fuck, man? We're all trapped in this hot ass truck. It's not air conditioned.
Yeah.
We all have to sit in this dark truck while you smoke. And I got to breathe in that fucking smoke. God damn it. I mean, I like a cigar as much as the next guy, but...
It's the 60s. Everybody's fine with it.
I guess. Yeah, I guess everybody probably smokes in the... They're like, yeah.
That's that fresh air.
Yeah. So they get to the town, and this is where we get to see a little bit of the colorfulness of Grofield, because he does highlight Grofield specifically because he plays a role later on, and also because he's a main character in a lot of the books. He's always with Parker on a lot of jobs.
Nice.
And I'm trying to remember if he might die in way later books or something, at the very end.
Spoilers.
I'm trying to remember. I can't. One of his compatriots that is in a lot of the books dies. I can't remember if it's him or another guy. But it makes sense because his character is very kind of carefree.
I could see that with his character. Yeah.
Yeah. The good news is it makes his job fun for him. He's like a theatrical fellow. In fact, on his downtime, he has a theater in a small town in Nebraska or something like that, in the middle of nowhere. He's got a theater. He's like, these small town folk need theaters too. They need some culture. But no one goes there except randomly. So they're like, how does he afford to open this theater? But it's because he's a thief and I want to do it. You go on vacation to Miami, Parker, for the whole year. I pay for this theater to run. And so he's definitely into theater and theatrics and acting and all that stuff. So in his mind, we find out that while he's doing these jobs, we're living through scenarios of musicals and movies and just in his head. So while they're driving, he's like dun 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 dun, just in his mind, and then he's actually seeing the Flight of the Valkyries or whatever's going on from the music tune that he's thinking in his head, or a war movie or any of that kind of stuff. So I thought it was funny because they actually show a sergeant being like, "Hey, are you with me, soldier?" And then he's like, "Yes, sir." And then Parker's like, "Don't get cute." And then it shows Parker in the soldier uniform first, and then when he says "Don't get cute," he's in his balaclava mask, and so it's it's cutting between realities for Grofield. Yeah. He literally is in another reality, saying yes sir to Parker, and Parker's like, what a fucking weirdo, but he does his job well, so whatever. So like we said, the first thing they got to do is go to the police station, and of course there is a patrol car out. So
one thing we didn't mention, there's a patrol car. I may have been cutting you off, you may have been going to say it, but one of the things that did work out in their favor, this town, the whole town, has a curfew. Everybody's got to be inside by 10 p.m.
Yeah, that's very nice. I don't know, it's a weird fascist place or something, but they have a curfew, and everybody stays indoors after 10.
It's safety. It's a small mountain town.
I guess. I don't know. If I'm in a small mountain town, don't tell me what the fuck to do.
Yeah, it seems like the people there would be the opposite.
Yes, but whatever. They like this town. Maybe it's the equivalent of because it's a mine. Maybe it's the equivalent of a Microsoft town where they can tell you what to do because you work at the Microsoft plant. Or whatever.
Everybody here works at you all need to be in bed so you can come to work.
Exactly, and you get paid in script. You can only shop at the company store. So anyway. Everybody's on curfew. There is a patrol car that patrols the streets just in case, but it doesn't go anywhere really. It doesn't do anything. And they get a call, and it's like, "Hey guys, I need you to come back to the station. Something's going on." They're like, "Huh? What is it?" And they're like, "I can't tell you. We can't talk over the radio. Just come here." And when they get back there to the police station, of course they walk in there. "Hey, what's going on, man?" And the radio guy's like, and he points behind him, behind the two officers that came in, and there's 8 masked men or whatever standing there, and it's like, oh shit. So
he's like, "Yeah, you didn't pick up my inflections on the
he actually gave him "Hey guys, there's something going on here," and he's trying to wink over the radio, but they can't see it.
Yeah.
So and because of that, Chambers, the hothead, hits that guy that gave the message to them in the face with the butt of his gun and almost knocks him out. It's pretty hardcore because Parker doesn't like any of that shit. One of Parker's MOs is when he is doing a job and there's like people that have to be tied up or kept quiet. He's always like, "Hey, buddy, what's your name? John? Cool, John. It's nice to meet you. I hope your family's good. Don't worry. We're not going to hurt you. We're just going to tie you up for a bit while we do our thing, and you'll be good as, good
as soon as we're done, you're good to go."
Yeah, so he tries to keep everybody calm. As far as I know, this is like the first time a book did that.
Yeah.
Like, of all the crime books I've read, none of them have a guy that does that usually, at least when these were written. So, like, because these were written in the 60s and 70s. So, I wonder if that, because that's like a common thing nowadays. You always have like the one guy who's like, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?" Trying to make everybody calm.
The polite thief.
Yeah. So Parker's not necessarily polite. He's cold, and the people can tell.
Yeah.
He means business, but he's also like, "I won't kill you unless I have to." And so generally everybody's usually quiet. And while they're tying the guys up, one thing is interesting. There's a cop that hears the guy, Edgars is who's talking. He hears Edgars talking to one of the officers as he's tying him up, and the policeman's like, "I know that voice. Oh my God, that's," and then it like cuts away. And he says Edgars in his mind, or he's like, "Oh my God, it's Edgars." So you're like, what the fuck? Who's Edgars? Yeah, I mean, we know who Edgars is in the group, but what did Edgars do in this town?
Yeah.
Why is this cop terrified of Edgars? So there's a weird little foreshadowing going on. So they work their way through all the different stations. They leave Chambers at the police station to guard the guards. And the guards are like, that's the crazy guy. Like, that's the guy that hit us in the face. So don't fuck with, to guard the police officers, I'd say. And, don't fuck with this guy because he will shoot us if need be, or at least get crazy and hit us with his gun. So I guess he was kind of a good guy to leave with the cops because they know he's willing to go far.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But so they go through their whole thing. And like I said, they take over the phone station. They leave Grofield with the girls at the phone station because this is back when there was actually operators that had to physically. Yeah.
Like, okay, hold on. I'll transfer you and pull out the cord, put it in the next slot.
Yeah. And of course, Grofield is like, as Parker's talking, he's like, "What's your names? Edith, whatever." He goes through all of them. And then Grofield like goes up to him. He's like, "Don't worry, guys. It's fine. I'm cool. Like, as long as everybody's cool, I'm cool." And he like turns on the charm immediately with these ladies because they're good looking ladies from the 60s. So
yeah, one is an older lady, but the other two, they seem younger. Linda and Mary.
Yeah. And Mary is one that likes Grofield later on. They get acquainted.
Yes.
So yeah, Grofield's left here, and one thing I thought was interesting, I guess, because I just take it for granted since my entire life our phone numbers have been 7 numbers. So it'd been like 3 and then 4 numbers. Mm-hmm. Apparently, back in the 60s, phone numbers were like 72865. Or 72865 It was like 4 numbers at the end and then only 1 before the dash. So it's like, okay. There was only 5 numbers, I guess, back then in telephone numbers. Because they say like, "Hey, ladies, what's the phone number of the police station? Hey, what's the phone number of this?" So they can call each other and just say like, "Hey, everything's fine here. Call me if you have anything." And they also call each other by their first letters of their name. So like Parker is P, Grofield is G. So like that's their code names or whatever. PGES.
Lucky none of them have the same letter.
Lucky. I'm sure that was written on purpose, or else it would have been like, "You're a P squared," or "You're,
Yeah, at least they have to talk.
Yeah.
I know there's Palm and
They use last names. That might be why they use last names too. Yeah. Everybody's called by their last. Like Parker's first name is not Parker.
Yeah, that's true.
But everybody calls him Parker. So like we said, Grofield gets familiar with the ladies as he ties them up. He's all nice, and then the rest of everybody checks off, and they say like, "Okay, we've got everybody." They take they take over the guard station at the mine. They leave some Salsa up at the front road at where the main road intersects with the entrance of the town, so that he can say, "Hey, people are coming in," if someone does come in. And then the breaking in starts. So we get the safe people going to crack the safes and the banks and everything. And this is where I said you get like the one guy's like, "Those stupid nitroglycerin guys, they're so loud and annoying. The only true way to break into a safe is with a drill. You could feel everything. It's all tactile." And then you cut to the other guy and he's like, "I got nitroglycerin. That's the only way to blow one of these safes." And so it's just like a fun little thing. And then we also get like a little interlude where there happens to be a kid. I don't know if he's a kid or if he's like a young man.
And that's why I was going to say maybe he's like, I assumed he was like a teen, like 17, 18.
Right, because he snuck out past curfew to go fuck a lady. And
it didn't say. He said just fell asleep.
Okay, well, he fell asleep and he doesn't have a shirt and she
Yes.
doesn't have clothes either. So
Okay.
he fell asleep in the arms of his lover and then woke up past curfew and he's like, ah, shit. And this must be a really strict curfew because, like, it's instead of like the cops, you'd think they'd just be like, hey, what are you doing? Okay, go home. He's like, oh, shit, I'm past curfew. So he's sneaking around town and he happens to see, you know, the bank robbing happening. So he calls the police and luckily they got the police station covered and the guy answers that's like answering the phone at the police station, but he's covered by Chambers, who's sitting there listening in on what the conversation is. And the kid's like, hey, there's a robbery going on. And they're like, okay, where are you at? He's like, oh, I'm at this phone booth here. He's like, okay, I'll send a patrol car.
Stay there.
Stay there. And then as the patrol car comes, we see it's Parker in the patrol car. And he ties the kid up. And he's nice. He says, hey, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to tie you up in this alley. They'll find you in the morning. But I'm almost 100% this kid probably dies from what happens later on. So possibly. There, you know, a good chance a lot of these townspeople died. We'll see. We'll see later. But yeah, so everything's going good. Everybody's tied up. They're actually getting the job done faster than normal. One thing I liked is Darwin Cook has this fantastic, like, complete city shot of the main street. And he like has arrows pointing to like who's in what building and what's going on. And it just is perfect. Like I love
it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, and it just looks cool. It just looks like a good design of this town. And I don't know, the way he drew it, it's like a good way to show what's going on when. But like I said, they're ahead of time. They're doing such a good job at this.
Yeah, I was surprised because like when the kid pops up, I'm like, oh, it's the first like thing that's gonna go wrong. Like the kid's gonna like get in the way and die. I assumed he was gonna die, but I thought like he would mess something up.
Right, but he doesn't.
Parker's so I'm like, cool. Okay.
The next thing that goes possibly wrong is everybody's checking in and saying like, hey, we're done, we're ready to wrap up. Everybody good? And they're like, Grofield, or they say G, you there? G,
answer. Hello.
And like all of a sudden you see Grofield's head pop up because he was laying on the floor next to the desk with
which no longer masked head pops up.
Yes, and also there's a bra on the phone, and it seems like him and Mary have been getting familiar with each other, and so much so that when they go to pick Grofield up, she jumps in the car with Grofield and the other guy, and Grofield's like, she's coming with us, and he's like, what?
So Parker's not gonna like that.
Yeah, Parker is not gonna like that. He's like, I don't give a fuck what Parker thinks. She's cool. She's coming with me. She just gave me the best blowjob I've ever had.
But she apparently she doesn't have anybody in town.
Yeah,
she's just there for either the job or whatever. So she has nothing to lose. And she's like, she's basically like, G's got a good heart. So,
yeah, and we're kind of in love or whatever.
Yeah.
So. But the real thing that goes wrong, because he answers the phone in time and he's like, everything's good here. Like, yeah, why are you breathing so hard? No reason. And then you hear like, Grofield, come back. So, yeah, the real thing that goes wrong is that when Edgar's hears, we're all good, the job's over, let's leave. Edgar's like, well, it's about time. And he pulls off his mask and the other police see that it is Edgar's and like, oh my God, Edgar's. And he just opens up and kills all of them with his Tommy gun. And then he gets in the armory of the police station, which I don't know why they would have grenades, but they do have grenades. The police are militarized even in the 60s.
Yes.
And so, yeah, he gets grenades in the armory of the police station, and he begins to go through the town chucking grenades in very specific places where he knows like it's going to make the biggest dent, the biggest explosions, and fuck everything up. So he specifically goes to the mine, throws a grenade in there, and blows up the shit out of it. He blows up the firehouse. He blows up a gas station that has a bunch of fuel tanks and everything. So he's lighting everything on fire, and everybody's like, "What the fuck is that?" Because they just hear explosions. They thought everything was going fine. So then they're like, "What's going on?" And it turns out Eggers is doing this. And so the thing I love about it is he's like crazy. He's got like crazy eyes. Like, these fuckers are like.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite panels. Is it shows him like walking and like he's over like papers and whatnot, and then it shows his face being like, "Goodbye, Copper Canyon," and it shows his face and like his
it's
eyes
split
are
in
all
two
crazed.
panels. Yeah, there's
But
like
it's perfectly split in two panels, so it makes him look like he's like cracked and
Yes.
like even more demented.
yeah, because his
like
his top face is in one panel and his bottom face with his mouth is in the bottom panel, and he slightly skews them so that you can tell like his head is cracked, like literally, and he's gone crazy. So he turns out he didn't really give a fuck about robbing this place. He just wanted to burn it to the ground.
And why is that, you say? Because he was the ex-police chief
Yes,
of the town.
who was super corrupt, and the town found out and kept trying to try him, but he was a slippery motherfucker. He was able to get out of all the indictments, and so eventually, because
When there's no evidence, because you're the police chief and can get rid of evidence.
sure, and then also, he's the police chief, and that is a voted position. So when elections came around, they voted him out and said, "Get the fuck out," and he did not like that. So he had a grudge against all these people, and so that's why he did this whole plan. And so he probably would have went on killing a bunch of people because in that cop in the police station, he actually kills Chambers. He's one of the guys that's there, and he just mows him down along with the police officers. And then he goes to the mine, and when he's blowing that up, there's also like Palm, I think, is the guy that's there pretending to be the guard. And Palm's like, "What's going on, Eggers?" And then Eggers is like, "I'm throwing grenades. Like, fuck these guys." And he chucks a grenade. And unfortunately for Eggers, he chucks it against an area that explodes way too big, and like a wall falls on him and crushes him. But luckily for the other guys, that happens, because I'm pretty sure he would have just gone crazy and maybe killed them all or had more people die because of that. So luckily, everybody else is able to get out that is alive still, and including Mary. And Parker's like, "Who the fuck is this girl?" So Wysa picks up Parker and is like, "Let's go to the hideout mine, the old abandoned mine." So they all go, and luckily, they're driving on the main street to get out of the town. And as they drive for a while, they see a cop car coming, and they're like, "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit!" But it's coming from the opposite direction with its lights on, and you can see like the town burning in the rearview mirrors, basically. And so the cop passes them, doesn't even look twice. So like, "Oh, whew, that was close." And everything seems to be going to plan. So they get to the mine, and Parker's talking to Grofield, and he's like, "What the fuck, dude? You brought a girl. She knows our faces. She knows our names now. Can you trust her? Maybe she's got family there, and she's going to be pretty pissed that everybody's dead or whatever." And Grofield's going to bat for her. He's like, "No, she's cool. Believe me. I know."
Oh, yeah? You know, huh?
I got a intuition down in my pants that she is a great gal. And so Parker's like, "You know what? Okay, I'll talk to her." And Grofield's like, "Oh, I'm sure you'll talk to her. Like, you better not like hit her or get handsy with her or kill her or throw her off the edge of this fucking cliff or whatever."
He's like, no, I won't kill her. If anybody is, that's going to be your job.
"Yeah, you have to kill her because you brought her here, goddammit. So, she's your girl and you have to kill her." So he talks to her, and she talks a good game. She lets Parker know that, like, "I won't tell on anybody. I like Grofield a lot. I mean, I don't think our relationship's going to last forever, but, I think he's a good guy, and I'm willing to give it a try."
Yeah, I liked it too because he even gave her like some like reasons to like get out now and whatnot. She's like, "Yeah, you like him now, but he's gonna go to jail eventually. He don't pay his taxes."
Yeah,
And
he's like Grofield plays it loose and fast.
Yeah.
Basically, like, he's not as easy going as early. He's not as smart about his money as I am. He's not as calculated as I am. He doesn't pay, like you said, he doesn't pay his income taxes. That's gonna get him. Like,
Yeah.
That's the main thing. The government, whether you're a thief or not, you got to pay tax on that money. So. They're going to look at your receipts and be like, "How did you afford this couch?" You're going to be like, Avon? I don't know. Like, what do you do? So, yeah, or whatever, the Amway. I don't know what the fuck they sold back. Tupperware? They had Tupperware parties back then. So she's able to convince Parker that she's going to be okay. And I'll spoil a little bit of the novels. They last a very long time in the books. So,
that's
they're a
nice.
couple for a long, long time. That's like basically they just hang out and wait for the police and all that hoopla in the town to die down.
And they were right there. There were copters one day, and they're like, "Oh, everybody stay hidden."
Yes.
I do like that Paulus is like, he's like you said, he was kind of weaselly, kind of like.
Paulus is the guy that set this all up.
And he's very much getting impatient. He's like, this doesn't feel right. Edgar died, and he caused all this ruckus. He set us up. He's going to get us caught. He planned this.
Yeah, like basically he thinks because Edgar had that ulterior motive to blow the town up, he set this hideout up too, and it must be, bad in some way as well. And then also they're hearing this helicopter fly over back and forth in like a grid pattern. But all the other guys are like, nah, I mean, if they found something, we would definitely know by now.
Yeah.
Like, we're just chilling. We're in the sheds. No one knows we're here. We've covered all the cars. The truck's at the bottom of the ravine. It's all good. And so that sounds all fine, but Paulus doesn't take their advice. And that night, Parker is woken up by another guy who says Paulus is gone. He's gone down into the mine to where the truck is to get his stash of the cash, and he's going to leave. And Parker is not receptive to that. So Parker takes the other car and parks it at the top of that little one-lane mud dirt road that's there. And there's only one way out of that canyon or that ravine, and that's to go up this one road. So Parker waits there, and Paulus pulls up, and he's like, come on, Parker, get out of the way. I'm leaving. And Parker's like, you ain't doing shit. Because if they catch you, because there's still going to be roadblocks, you know all of us, and I ain't going to jail because you're a fucking asshole. So, like, Paulus is kind of mad, but then I don't quite get this. I wasn't sure if he's like, okay, I'll like back up and punch it or something to try to like push him off. Or...
No, I think basically because I think he convinces him enough to be like, oh, fine, Ressa, basically.
Oh, okay.
Like, and then talking under his breath, like, fine, we'll wait here. The law's still gonna fucking come find us because they know, like, he's still not giving up his point.
Yeah, because Edgar's like, is this is Edgar's place.
But he's like, whatever.
So he can't turn around on this road. He's got to back down it now.
Yeah.
And as he backs down, he's not the best backer downer, and so he just flies off the edge of the cliff from the road and dies. And then with his money, his car explodes with the money that he had and him. So they have to bury that car, bury his body and the money in this, like, they said the water down there is like sulfury. It's not like full of water or anything, but there's like little mud dips where like there's a bunch of water. So they like dig up the ground, push him down into the mud, cover him up so hopefully no one will find him. And then the next day, or like the next couple of days later, everybody leaves. They all got their money. I think everybody got $30,000, what they said at the end of it.
Yeah.
The even split, minus Paulus and Chambers and Eggers. And so that's pretty good take for back then. They must not have gotten, let's see, that would be 9 divided by, or 500 million, or 500,000 divided by 9 is not 30.
No,
so.
I think it would have been closer to $250,000.
Okay. I don't remember. I thought it was half, but they were estimating possibly $500,000. So obviously it was less than that. But yeah, so
still a lot of money.
Yes, for back then especially. So everybody leaves, and of course Parker shows up at Jean's place at the hotel. He's like, "Hey, Eggers is dead," and she's like, "Oh, really? What happened?" He's like, "You don't need to know about it."
You know, he was crazy.
Yeah, he was a dick. So anyway, job's over, and like I said,
you like Miami?
Yeah. He basically was just like, let's go, like, be on the run together, and since you don't mind being with outlaws anyway, let's do it. And she's down. She like is good to go, and she sits on his lap, and he pulls off her bathrobe or whatever, and it ends with them about to make some loving, and that's it. That's the end of the score. Because Parker's about to score.
Yeah.
So, actually, this book is actually named after this score, not the main score. So yeah, and that's the end of this book. So John, what did you think? What would you give it?
I liked it. This is definitely my favorite one so far. Like I said, so I guess I didn't enjoy them as well in the beginning. I don't remember.
No, I just remember you being. I was like, "What'd you think?" And you were like, He's not a nice guy or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I know. That's what makes him cool.
We've been doing the podcast long enough now. I know that the bad guys can be good guys too. And
hey, we like the Punisher and stuff, right? I mean,
And what was that? Not There Will Be Blood. No Country for Old Men, like that.
Yeah.
Like okay, so it can be.
Wait, I mean, like Sugar or like Llewellyn. Because Llewellyn's not like a bad guy. He's just trying to hide this money from bad guys.
Yeah.
But Shigar is definitely a bad guy.
He's definitely a bad guy, yeah. Why
he does have a code, though. He's got that fucking coin flip,
Yeah.
and he's like, choose.
Yeah.
You have to choose. So yeah, anyway.
The most you ever lost. Anyway. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, this is definitely my favorite one. I want to read, I guess, the last one.
Slayground is fantastic.
Slayground. So we'll have to do that, and we'll do it sooner or later. If you guys don't like it, then I guess that will be an episode you can skip. But I want to read it and talk about it. So I mean, I guess we could do it off the podcast too. We'll see. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Again, Darwin Cook. I mean, pretty much goes without saying at this point. Like, just fantastic, amazing art. Like,
and storytelling. I mean, to take the books, like he does put the text from the books in certain areas, but it's like perfect where it is.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it is his art that's translating the text.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say because it's concise and they're not. These aren't long reads in general. I'm sure they're much.
Yeah, this book is 130 pages, and you could probably read it in an hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah, and how long do you think the actual novel is?
200 pages.
Okay.
So they're all about 200 pages.
Okay, so not necessarily that much longer, but still, it's like
there's definitely more detail. All the detail that is in his pictures.
His art. So either way, it's absolutely lovely. Like I said, the story on this one, I like it. It was just like it literally was a simple simple robbery.
It was simple, but it had like a lot of people.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff going on, and then the turn for Edgar's is like, what is going on?
That was good. I liked, because all of the things that you thought were gonna mess up, like that popped up, you're like, oh crap. But then none of those turned out, and then it happened to be Edgar's, with his grudge, and then you find out why. So yeah, that was really fun. So I liked it. Overall, it was really good. I'm gonna give this one 8.
An 8? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna give this one. I like this one a lot. This is probably one because this one is like its own story. You don't need to read the outfit or the hunter to really get it or anything. Parker. You get a good crime in this one. Like I said, this is one of my favorite books. I think I'm gonna give this one a 9.
Nice.
This one's good. And also, one thing I like is all the books have a different color palette too.
Oh yeah,
this one's yellow, which is good when like the town starts burning and stuff. There's a lot of yellow in it.
Yeah,
it's all black and white and yellow in this.
Yeah, and that works too when they're at night. The street lights.
Yeah, the street lights are pointing down and they're yellow, and same with car lights, they're yellow.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So it works well. And then
was it the outfit was blue?
Right? Yeah, the outfit was blue. I think the hunter was maybe blue too. I can't remember.
Either way, yeah, like it's just that one extra color, and it adds that dimension. Like the blue really was good for the outfit with all the shadows, because Parker is out. If you haven't listened to that one, he's out running basically the mob.
The mob, yeah.
And so like
he's taking on
the mob, yeah. And he comes out of the shadows a lot.
Yes.
In that to take people down, and it's really cool. And the blue in that is really perfect.
Yes.
Added to it.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 9. You give it an 8. What are we reading next week, John?
We're gonna check out one that Matt has already read, but he put it on my radar. And
actually, I've only read the first issue.
You only read the first issue?
It, no.
Oh, okay. Well, great. Okay, so we're gonna read The Last Ronin, and that's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story.
Yeah, and it just came out this last year. It's actually by Kevin Eastman.
Oh, really?
He wrote it. Yes,
I didn't.
And he
know
does
that
art
either.
in it too, like for the book.
Oh, that's fucking cool. I didn't know that.
Not the whole book, but he does like flashbacks.
Yeah.
So it's like totally Kevin Eastman. Yeah. It's fucking awesome.
That's really cool. I don't know, like something about Ninja Turtles. It's something I never like could grow out of. Like I love them when I was like
because they're fucking awesome.
And
There's
then
nothing to grow out of.
Well, no, I know. I just mean like not grow out of, but I just mean like I guess like that extra love for
go
them.
Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Like
go Ninja.
I was like obsessed with them when I was real little, like all the way to like my grandma got me like Ninja Turtles underwear for like Christmas one year.
John, we don't need to know about your
No, I was like 3 or 4, and I was like, hell yeah, I wanted this, as a little kid.
Right. That's a way to give your kid like socks or whatever. Like, it's got stuff you like on it.
I had several Ninja Turtles.
You know what turtles eat? Brussels sprouts.
No, they don't. They hate those too. They're allergic.
Yep.
But yeah, and then the Turtles movies from when I was a little bit older.
Yeah.
And then the Ninja Turtle show, and then like getting back into it with this, like reading the original comic because I'd never read it.
Yeah.
And that was just
all you need to know to read this is the first volume of which we already did for this podcast. Yeah. So like it just starts off and you're take off running.
So if you haven't listened to that episode, go and listen to it maybe this week.
I mean,
check it out.
Or you just know who the Ninja Turtles are.
Or
if you know there's 4 turtles, that's all you pretty much need to know. Like and there's a guy named Shredder who's the bad guy.
But you could go listen to it because if you haven't yet, it's a great episode.
Sure.
Because I would, like I said, I was like, I already, again, I like them, and I was like, oh, this comic is even brings them that much more light to me. to be like how amazing they are. So yes, we're gonna read The Last Ronin. I'm excited about it. I just know that obviously some turtles probably die, and we'll see what happens.
I'm not spoiling anything.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know much else about it other than
Yeah.
there's a last one.
Yeah, I got this hardcover for my birthday. I think it's already sold out too. Like they printed a shit ton of them, and it sold out really quickly.
Nice.
So yeah, that'll be a collector's item.
Probably.
But yeah, so we're gonna do that, and then also, if you guys don't know, we have a Patreon. We should thank our Patreon supporters, Hoku and Otaku Mike. We appreciate it very much. But we do a poll every month to let you guys pick one of the episodes we do for that month, and we got the poll running right now. So we're doing this month. We're doing characters that we haven't done yet before, and so there's a bunch up there. I think it's like Deadman, Spawn, some other people, Hawkman, and Birds of Prey.
Oh, Birds of Prey, yeah.
So
yeah, hey, let's say you didn't like this issue on Parker, the score. I don't know what's wrong with you, but if you don't want to listen to these, well, guess what? You can pick an episode that you want to listen to.
We're trying to get input from y'all because otherwise we just sit here and go, what do you want to read? I don't know. What do you want to read?
Yeah.
And we pick from my long-ass list of books that I have and haven't read. So,
yes.
So yeah, if you would like to join that, you can join us. You can join it on patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. And there's a bunch of different tiers. Also, if you like Matt's Minis Swamp Thing, there's a Matt's Minis Hellblazer tier where I'm going through all the episodes.
Patreon exclusive.
Now, it is exclusive to a point because I started putting out the Hellblazer episodes for free, but I'm about 30 issues always ahead of wherever I'm releasing it for free. So if you listen to those and you're like, oh, wow, this is cool, and you're like, why does it only come out twice a month? Well, you can get all 30, and I do them weekly on the podcast, on the Patreon podcast. So you will get one of those once a week as opposed to twice a month with the free one, and that's going to always be at least 30 issues ahead on the Patreon. So once again, if you want to join that, it's patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. And with that, I think we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.